welcome back to the channel. I've got a Titan build here for you guys to bring into Heist Moon Battlegrounds. I know it's a little bit late, resets tomorrow, but I already put out 3 videos this week, so if you haven't checked the channel, feel free to do so. And while you're there, why not hit that sub button, like the videos, comment. But yeah, I wasn't going to do another video this week, but I decided why not, because I actually went into the GM, did a few runs, farmed up a bit of resources, mainly because the last few videos that I did was about farming armor, high stat armor, artifice armor, and as a result of that, I ended up masterworking a whole bunch of armor pieces and updating my loadouts, and that consumed all 30 Ascendant shards that I had, which I never thought I'd see go below like 28 because, or 27, just because like pretty much all my exotics are already masterworked. I don't really need to use shards, so I was thinking, well, what's the point of even having them? You know, all the GMs that I was doing was basically I would get no Ascendant shards because I was always capped at 30. Well, yeah, so I guess I learned if I'm going to spend some time upgrading my armor, well, you go through those shards pretty quick, because I made about maybe 7 or 8 builds out of my farming, my armor farming, and that took all of my Ascendant shards. So I actually had to go into the GM, and I didn't really want to because I'm not a huge fan of this GM. But I went in there mainly just to get some Ascendant shards and some exotic engrams, because I realized in my armor farming efforts that a lot of the times it's actually just the exotic that's not good enough as far as stats go. So yeah, so I was spending shards on focusing exotics as well, which takes a lot of shards. But anyways, so this is the build that I used to bring into the GM. This is pretty much a meta loadout. Solar is surging pretty much every week. I don't normally do a lot of videos that just use the meta because it's stale. Like once you do it once, it's all you really need to do, and then, you know, it's not like I'm not going to show you guys the exact same build every week with every activity. If I wanted to, I could do that, and that would be, you know, not necessarily a bad idea to use one of the best builds. But anyways, like I said, I just wanted to go into the GM. I wanted to farm it quickly. I wanted to get my shards, get my engrams, and get out of there. And so I had a few decent runs. So you're going to see the gameplay highlights here. I actually just took like the best encounters and stitched them together. I removed out like the traversal section, so hopefully, like, you know, this is like a 20-minute run or something like that. On average, the runs that I was doing on Fireteam Finder, which by the way, I do all my farming on Fireteam Finder, and generally don't have any problems. So yeah, this is, you know, a build perspective and information with, you know, regards to the fact that this is, you know, LFG, Fireteam Finder. So the build that I'm showing you here is something that you can take into random teams and still be effective. You can be effective solo. If you're the last Guardian standing, it'll work out for that. Work out for no mic runs. All my runs were no mic. So this is just something that works. It takes advantage of all the seasonal artifacts. So I'm on Loreley Splendor here. I've already done, you know, several videos on Loreley Splendor over the last several seasons. Super good exotic. It's actually even better this season, not just because Syntheseps was nerfed, but just because of the way that the artifact is set up. It just makes Loreley back to being one of the #1 solar exotics for Titan. For the weapons here, I've got Lingering Dread, Preoceanics 4 Adept, and I've got Dragon's Breath. And so the reason I chose the bow is because as long as you do not have the Unstoppable mod, right, this is actually super important. If you're going to use my loadout here, make sure you do not have Unstoppable bow, because we're not using this to stun Unstoppables. We're using it to break barrier shields primarily. Okay, we could do that by getting Radiant, and we basically have free Radiant from the seasonal artifact, right? Because we've got Flint Striker. So 2 precision hits with this bow will make you Radiant. Then your bow is also applying Scorch from Kindling Trigger, and then Precision Final Blows cause ignitions from Razor Precision. So any solar precision based weapons like bows and snipers, especially, like it's 2 shots to proc radiant, which is super effective. It's probably the best primary weapon of choice to use with the seasonal artifact to proc Flint Striker. And so all I need to do is shoot a barrier or shoot any enemy 2 times in the head, and then I've got anti-barrier rounds for my bow, so I could easily break barrier shields. And then the way that we're taking care of unstoppables is with ignitions, right? So I don't need a weapon with unstoppable, because ignitions are free, not just from the solar subclass and the way I have it set up, but Dragon's Breath. Obviously, I'm sure you've all used it. This thing is just an ignition machine. It's absolutely insane. If you can get off the Polaris Lance train, then use this. You're going to be causing even more ignitions. Like, you're just going to light the entire battlefield on fire. So you just hit an unstoppable once with this thing, they're going to get stunned, and they might even die from all the chain ignitions and everything, just from 1 or 2 shots of Dragon's Breath. Which means that it's also important that you do not have overload rocket launcher. Do not have that, because if you do, then well, you're not going to be able to break barrier shields with your rocket launcher, because remember, if you're radiant, then you can have anti-barrier rounds on all of your weapons, right? Unless you're conflicting it with selecting the artifact perks, right? So if I had overload rocket launcher, it would not break barrier shields. If I have unstoppable bow, it will not break barrier shields, right? So the ignitions themselves will still stun unstoppables, so that's not an issue, but I would just recommend don't bother with overload, because that way you can get some random shield breaks on barriers without even paying attention. Then I'm using Lingering Dread here for survivability. Blinding GLs are super good in Grandmasters, especially if you're not on like an Invis Hunter, and for the boss room, that extra crowd control is really nice. But also, additionally, like, you could use any blinding GL like Pardon or Dust or Malicious Birthright. But this thing has Chill Clip, and Chill Clip this season benefits from the seasonal artifact as well, right? So we can use, well, I mean, all GLs can benefit from Blast Radius. So if I get a multi-kill with this thing, which I'm not necessarily doing often, but if I do, I'll get Armor Charge for free from Blast Radius, right? That's right here. And then Torch as well. This thing can proc Torch. So while Radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by stasis debuffs. So if I hit a champion or a mini boss or anything with Lingering Dread, they'll be slowed. If I'm Radiant, I'm doing more weapon damage. So it's just kind of like a nice little additional bump, right? So all my weapons are benefiting from the artifact in some way, and I'm not even using any champion mods. Of course, there's other alternatives that you could use here, but like, you know, the setup that I'm using here is, you know, as I explained, it's specific to this setup, but if you wanted to, you can go with any other bow. I chose Pre-Asiatics because precision frame bows are just generally better for ranged combat, which this build is a ranged combat build. But if you wanted to, you can go with Tyranny of Heaven. It's a lightweight, so you get that extra mobility. It's very snappy. It's a fun weapon to use. If you're doing this, like if you're just farming Hero Nightfalls, I would recommend this instead. The beautiful thing about Pre-Asiatics with Shoot to Loot an Explosive Head is that you can play at range, you can play back without putting yourself at risk, which is very advisable for this Grandmaster, especially in the boss room. Well, in Grandmasters in general. So I'm basically never going to run out of Dragon's Breath, right? Not only do we get the ammo crates, like at the end of each encounter, to fully, you know, restock your ammo, but while I'm doing damage from range, my bow is going to pick up all the ammo and the orbs, right? So I'm going to get armor charge and ammo from range without having to put myself at risk, which is really good. You might think that it'd be better to go with like Incandescent, which I have this roll here, which is very good. with Archer's tempo, and sometimes Explosive Head does conflict with Rays of Precision. So if the explosive payload gets the final kill instead of the precision hit, then you're not going to proc that ignition, right? But it's a trade-off in the end anyways, because Dragon's Breath is honestly making enough ignitions by itself. But additionally, like, I'd rather have Explosive Head with that area of effect from Explosive Head pick up the shoot to loot items like ammo and orbs, right? Shoot to loot and Explosive Head just synergize well with each other. I don't even have to aim precisely at the orb or the ammo brick. It's just the Explosive Head is going to pick it up for me. If I was using Incandescent instead and no shoot to loot, like, well, even if I was using shoot to loot and Incandescent, it would be harder to pick up ammo, and I wouldn't be able to do so as automatically or as blindly. I would actually have to kind of focus on aiming, looking for those items, aiming at them and shooting them, whereas shoot to loot and Explosive Head just kind of like works automatically a lot of the time. You kill an enemy and then so all of a sudden you've automatically picked up the orb and the ammo that they dropped. So it's very good for that. Also, Explosive Head is just really good for any type of ranged combat because there's no range fall off. So yeah, lots of alternatives that you could use here. If you don't have a good pre-Asianics, you can use a Strident Whistle with Shoot to Loot and Explosive Head. You can focus that at Zavala without any Nightfall ciphers, just because it's a Vanguard playlist as opposed to Nightfalls. So you can get that pretty easily. If you're already on a fire team that has like a Dragon's Breath and you don't want to conflict with that, you can just, use Apex Predator and Polaris Lance instead. Or you can use Fixed Odds with Incandescent. Or you can use Galahorn if you're on a rocket team, like you got a team with 2 Apex Predators. Hey, maybe it's a good idea to, or you got a Cenotaph, maybe it's a good idea to run a Galahorn to benefit your teammates. But the build here is specifically on these 3 weapons for this loadout. This is kind of just what makes the magic happen. As far as the aspects and fragments here, well, we're going to consider the seasonal artifact again, right? So we've got basically free Radiant, we've got free Scorch, free Ignitions. So I want to pick my fragments with that in mind, right? So 2 fragments that come to mind to benefit from all the extra Ignitions and Scorch would be Ember of Char and Ember of Ashes, which is not necessarily something that I always use with Loreley Splendor, but may as well because we're using Dragon's Breath and we have the seasonal artifact, right? So Ash is going to do more Scorch damage, going to set off Ignitions quicker, and then Char is going to spread Scorch after those Ignitions, and that's what's going to give you the ability to chain Ignitions, right? You just get one going after the next because the Scorch is spreading. So without Char, you're not going to get chain Ignitions in the same way. Then the other 2 fragments that I'm using here are 2 fragments that I pretty much always use on Loreley, and that is Ember of Singeing. 100%, I never take that off Loreley because you want to spam your barricade as often as possible, which means you should be using Rally Barricade here for the shorter cooldown, so you can just pop that, get your Soul Invictus, get your Sunspot, your Restoration. Singeing is going to allow you to have, especially with 100 Resilience, you're going to have back-to-back barricades. Like before your barricade is even done, before it's expired, you'll be able to put down another barricade. So that's super important for playing position with Loreley Splendor. That's how you want to play it, right? You don't want to let the enemies get you critical and then your Sunspot just drops automatically, right? That is a nice fail-safe. It is one of the beautiful things about Loreley Splendor, but the best thing about it is that you can control where and when to put that Sunspot down with your barricade and benefit from, like, the weapon stats that you get, like extra reload speed, you got cover, you've got a head glitch, and you've got Soul Invictus, you've got Restoration. Your abilities are coming back way faster with Soul Invictus. So yeah, definitely that's how you want to play it. If it wasn't for the seasonal artifact and for using Dragon's Breath here, I would probably not go with Char, and I would probably not go with Ashes. Instead, I would go with Ember of Solace and Ember of Torches for extra restoration, extra time on Radiant. But because the seasonal artifact is giving us Radiant for free with 2 precision hits from a bow or from multi-kills with Dragon's Breath, means that I don't need to use Ember of Torches, right? So post season 23, I would probably go back to using number of torches, as then it's just what sacrifice do you make, right? But I don't have to worry about that for the rest of this season. That's the way I would set it up. Use char, use ashes to magnify the effects of the seasonal artifact and Dragon's Breath, and then use the other 2 fragments, Singeing and Searing, for your Loreley build, just kind of at its base, right? Searing is nice because then that allows me to throw my hammer more often, because this is not a bonk build. Like, you should not be running around bonking enemies with your hammer and picking it up. You should just be throwing your hammer and forgetting about it. Because keep in mind, Loreley encourages you to play defensively from further back, more of a long-range combat style of build. So you just throw your hammer and then get the damage, of course, but also you're going to proc Revitalizing Blast and get that 15% weaken on champions and mini-bosses. So, I mean, that's, you basically just want to spam your abilities, right? And Soul Invictus is helping you get your hammer and your grenades back very fast. I don't know what the actual rate that Soul Invictus gives you abilities back, but it is very, very fast. Like, you'll be spamming them left and right. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the aspects and fragments. Obviously, Roaring Flames and Soul Invictus, especially for your ability spamming behind your barricade, throw your Thermite Grenade. I like Thermite Grenade because it applies a lot of Scorch. It's one of the only grenades, like along with Incendiary Grenades, that don't really benefit any certain subclass more than others. So it just kind of makes sense to use with Titan here, especially with the wave. It's kind of like a wave frame or waveform grenade, and if an enemy is sitting inside that Thermite Grenade for long enough, they will ignite just from the grenade with ashes. Incendiary Grenade is also very good, but it's an instant explosion, so it's not like you can wait for an enemy to, like, you can have this thing down on the ground for a few seconds and an enemy walks through it and they're going to ignite, or they're going to burn up. The Incendiary only does the splash damage to whatever's right there at the time of the explosion. The one benefit from Incendiary Grenades is it does apply a lot of Scorch. I think it applies the most Scorch out of all the grenades. But yeah, if an enemy is standing in a Thermite Grenade the entire time, they will ignite. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hammer Saul, because, I mean, you could really go either way here. I'm basically just using my super as an extra. Well, honestly, I'm saving it for when my Fireteam Finder teammates die, because that happens, right? I don't have Night Stalker. I'm not invisible. There might not be a Night Stalker in the run that you're in, with your random teammates. So having a roaming super like Hammer Saul or Burning Maul, doesn't really matter which one. I just prefer Hammer Saul because I want to fight from range. I don't want to get up close. But if I do need to get into the thick of things and revive a teammate, I can just pop my super and do that, safely. And then I can eliminate all the enemies around that teammate that I'm reviving so they don't immediately die again. And then get back to safety. So that's the main purpose of the super. I'm running, as far as stat distribution here, I've got double 100s in resilience and discipline. So many Thermite Grenades, many barricades, and technically tier 100 strength as long as I have armor charge, because I'm running Font of Vigor, so I can throw my hammer more often, right? So the triple 100s here, or pseudo triple 100s, is to spam my barricade and my abilities, right? 40 recovery is plenty. You can get away with like no recovery on Loreley Splendor because it's Loreley Splendor. It is healing you, right? It's healing you at a faster rate more often than recovery at its base can ever do. So it's not advisable that you build into recovery on a healing build like this, because you've got free Soul Invictus, Restoration, Sunspots, and then so as far as the combat mods go, well, I'm just getting some extra targeting acquisition for my bow, so I can proc Flint Striker more easily. I prefer harmonic targeting, or targeting in general. I just like it on my weapons. I like them to feel like they have good aim assist, like they're snappy, fast aim down sight time, and then faster reload with harmonic loader, because if you didn't know, bows actually do benefit from harmonic loader, or from loaders, I should say, because every time you knock an arrow, that counts as a reload, right? It's different from the draw time, so you got two things affecting DPS on your bow. It's draw time and reload speed. Resist mods here, it's Void Threat, and Scorn are throwing a lot of Void at you. They'll easily kill you with Void Grenades, so I would recommend just going double Void, Concussive for that AoE. And then on legs, I've got Harmonic Scavenger, so I'm going to be spamming Dragon's Breath all over the place. Not only do we get an ammo crate that fills up your ammo completely at the end of each encounter, but Shoot to Loot is picking up ammo bricks. With Harmonic Scavenger, I'm getting more with each brick, and I'm picking up those orbs. I'm getting armor charge from my grenade launcher as well, so that's giving me 18% more solar weapon damage. Time dilation for longer armor charge, powerful attraction, and Reaper because I'm spamming my barricade, so why not pick up all the orbs near me, and why not get an orb on my next kill after casting barricade. But yeah, that's basically it, and like I said, as far as the gameplay loop goes, get into a good position, drop your barricades, sit in that sunspot, throw your abilities, let the sunspot replenish your abilities while having restoration, play behind the barricade with that head glitch, get extra reload speed. You know, it's, yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, I'll let the gameplay speak for itself. I'm not gonna give you too much guidance as to how to play the Nightfall. You know, you can just kind of watch and learn and go from there. But anyways, I will see you in the next one.
Alright, Guardian. This is a smash and grab. Smash some hive, grab a chunk of submind.
And live to tell the tale.
Opening, and patch me in and I'll get that door open again. Vault security re-up. You know what to do, Guardian.
enlightened to see what happened to us, and that our plan found purchase with so much at stake.
Did it all unfold as you foresaw? Did I?
Not all. I carry sorrow for Sagira's sacrifice. The details are never exact, but I am assured this path will lead us through the storm.